Hello and welcome back to more Films Under Constant Critique, where we take a look at films, some good, some bad, and some downright awful. I'm Bongo Baikov, joined by our host Maverick, Dren, Zaria. This week we're taking a look at the 1999 film Deep Blue Sea.
Kind of think of it, I think this movie fits all three of those categories. Yeah, so Deep Blue Sea, which is the best Jaws sequel. It's not to be confused with the Vivien Leigh film, The Deep Blue Sea, or the 2011 film, The Deep Blue Sea. This is the one that has sharks.
There's a lot of movies named Deep Blue Sea.
Yeah, this is the one that has sharks in it, if you were confused. Gosh, imagine, turning on, a Vivien Leigh movie and then, thinking there's gonna be sharks in it. That's what Gone with the Wind is missing. Sharks. Okay, so Deep Blue Sea was released on July 28th, 1999. It cost about $71 million and made $165 million.
Huh.
That's higher than I thought it would be, actually.
Yeah.
It's directed by Renny Harlin, which we just did one of his movies not that long ago. Because he directed Die Hard 2.
Oh, that's right.
Some of his other credits include Exorcist: The Beginning.
Oh no.
One of two Exorcist prequels that came out back-to-back years.
That were completely different from one another.
Well, aside from that, both of them star Stellan Skarsgard as the same character. But yeah, that's confusing. If you haven't heard about that mess, go read about those two movies. He also directed Cutthroat Island, one of the biggest box office bombs of the 90s right there. It destroyed Carol Co.
Ooh.
Nightmare on Elm Street 4.
Huh.
Which that was the most financially successful Nightmare on Elm Street film, if I remember right. I think that one's The Dream Master.
Yep, The Dream Master.
Because I'm always confused, because three of those movies in a row just have Dream in the subtitles. So.
Yeah.
Dream Warriors, Dream Master, Dream Child.
And Dream Child.
He did Cliffhanger. Pretty fun Sylvester Stallone movie right there. The opening is the opening is terrifying though, especially for me because I'm scared of heights. He also did The Adventures of Ford Fairlane.
Huh.
Andrew Dice Clay movie. He also has an uncredited cameo role in this movie. I didn't notice him, though, while I was watching it, so... Towards the beginning, I'm gonna guess.
He might have been one of the guys on the boat.
Yeah. So, the cast. We have quite a few returning faces, including Thomas Jane, who was in Face Off, and he was in the 2004 Punisher movie as the Punisher.
Yep.
Stellan Skarsgard is in this. I honestly forgot he was in this movie.
Yeah, no, I didn't know he was in it. And I'm just watching oh, hey, hello there, Stellan Skarsgard. How you doing?
I wasn't sure if it was him or something. I think he was doing... Was he trying to do an American accent or something in this? I wasn't sure.
I don't think he was. I just think he was trying to sound drunk the whole time.
That could be it. Yeah, that could be it. Because the character's name is Dr. Jim Whitlock. That's not a very Swedish name.
No.
But yeah, we've had Stellan Skarsgård on the podcast before because he's in the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. He played Bootstrap Bill. We also have, what a surprise, Samuel L. Jackson.
Back for the 4th time in a row.
The motherfucker who is in everything, including this. And he's in another Renny Harlin movie, actually. He's in Long Kiss Goodnight. And I mentioned that movie because that is Samuel L. Jackson's favorite Samuel L. Jackson movie.
Really?
It's a good one to watch around Christmas time, actually, because it takes place around Christmas.
We also can't forget that we have LL Cool J in the movie.
Yes, rapper LL Cool J, and 2 of his songs are on the soundtrack.
That's pretty good.
And some of his other quote-unquote acting credits. We got Halloween H2O.
Yeah.
Toys. The Robin Williams movie.
Rollerball.
Rollerball. I forgot about that, yeah. Any Given Sunday. The football movie directed by Oliver Stone starring Al Pacino. Interesting. And this isn't the only movie where he appeared with Samuel L. Jackson either, because they're both in SWAT, which I've never seen that.
Huh.
Saffron Burrows, which before we started recording, I said I was going to be mentioning the Wing Commander movie.
Oh, yeah.
The reason why is because...
Is this why?
Is because she's in the Wing Commander movie.
Yep. That sounds about right.
It came out the same year as this movie, 1999. Because I was like, I looked through her filmography. I'm like, I don't recognize most of these. I'm like, oh, seriously? She's in the Wing Commander movie? Another returning cast member, Frank Welker, as the voice of the parrot.
What? That would be a plot twist.
He's like got... His filmography is so long. Like, he does voice roles in, like, almost everything. Like, I said earlier, was Samuel Jackson is the motherfucker who's in everything. Frank Welker is, like... he might be in more
He's
stuff.
actually in everything.
Yeah. He did the voice of the monkey in Raiders of the Lost Ark. This is just stuff we do on the podcast. The voice of Yoshi and the Goombas in the live-action Mario movie. Shao Kahn and the voices of Reptile and Goro in the 1995 Mortal Kombat movie. Just among other stuff. Like, his filmography is ridiculous. We also got an uncredited cameo from Ronnie Cox.
Huh.
Dick Jones from RoboCop. And come to think of it, this plot feels like something OCP would try to do.
Yeah. It's really weird. The setup is just almost nonsensical.
We will get to that. The music was done by Trevor Rabin, with some of the other stuff he did that we did on the podcast, Con Air and Armageddon. Oh my god, these 3 movies came out in, like, consecutive years, I just realized.
He was very busy.
If it was an action movie in the 90s, he might have done the music for it. The tagline for Deep Blue Sea, one of them is bigger, smarter, faster, meaner.
That's pretty bad.
There's another one. Let me see if I can find it. Your worst fear is about to surface. I think that's the better of the 2 taglines, actually.
Yeah, probably.
Well, to be fair, bigger, smarter, faster, meaner, that fits the tone of the movie better.
Yeah.
Okay, so initial thoughts. I think I'll start with this one. So I had seen this movie before. Part of it, at least. And then I was thinking about it again recently and going, it was stupid, but you know, It might make a good podcast. If not just for the absurd premise. And plus, I haven't seen the sequels, so this will be an excuse to do that. I enjoyed it. What helps is I watched some other shark movies recently for comparison, and this was better than most of them.
Which ones did you watch?
Let me pull up some of these titles real quick. Super Shark, Cocaine Shark, Bull Shark, Noah's Shark, Shark Encounters of the Third Kind, The Reef. Yeah, there were some bad ones for sure. Meg 2. Oh, yeah, I watched the Meg and Meg 2.
Oh, yeah.
Mega Shark versus Mecha Shark. Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom has sharks in it, so I'm gonna count that. Jurassic Shark.
You watched a lot of shark movies.
I just was going like one a day, basically. One of the funnier ones is one day I watched Raiders of the Lost Shark, and the same day I also rewatched Raiders of the Lost Ark.
That's pretty good.
Just because why the hell not? Jersey Shore Shark Attack. Aquaman. Oh, The Suicide Squad has a shark in it, so I'm gonna count that.
Yeah, I guess.
There's King Shark is in that. But yeah, I think that's it. Oh, Blue Demon's in there as well. Dark Waters. Yeah, there were a lot of them. Basically, I watched all those just to kind of prepare myself for this one. You know. But yeah, so Deep Blue Sea is usually considered the second best shark movie behind Jaws, which is pretty accurate. Granted, there's not a lot of competition. Like, I mean, just that list I gave, like, it's ridiculous how many shark movies there are, you know? It's at the point where, honestly, we could probably make one.
Oh, easy. You make it like a psychological thriller where no one's ever able to actually see the shark. That way you save money on the budget.
Oh, so just make Jaws, then. I was thinking, like, maybe you could do a movie where a guy thinks he's turning into a shark or something. So it's like the Metamorphosis, the Kafka story, except it's with a shark. If somebody hasn't made that yet, there you go. There's a new idea.
That's perfect. That would be an amazing movie.
And then it's kind of this thing of like, is he actually turning into a shark or is he just insane? But basically, there's about as many good shark movies as there are good video game movies. Like, it's not a very long list.
Yeah.
But Deep Blue Sea, I think, is pretty fun. It's basically a big budget B movie. At points, I couldn't tell if they were trying to be serious or not, but that made it more entertaining, because then I'm like, they're keeping a straight face during this? How? This is so... Because the premise it's pretty preposterous and nonsensical.
We'll get to it. But
to be so fair, funny. To be fair, it looked like everyone was trying here. Like, the acting and directing are better than you'd expect from this, you know?
Yeah.
It's a pretty decent 90s action movie, if that's what you're looking for. Like, I can't make a case for it being, like, a milestone or anything, but if you want a popcorn movie, then this is a good choice. So.
Yeah.
Okay, you can go now.
I didn't really know much about this movie aside from the fact that it was a shark movie and that it had Samuel L. Jackson in it.
I mentioned the premise before once, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I went in not really knowing much about it. I'm not gonna lie. For about the first, 20 minutes to half hour or so, I was really worried. Because I was like, oh, this is slow, nothing much is happening. And then once shit starts to hit the fan, it just goes insane. It gets so weird and stupid. The premise is bizarre. Some of the deaths are just absolutely hilarious.
There's not what I would particular. There's two in particular that I'm thinking of. Like, there's one that everybody knows, though. Like, even people who've never seen this movie, they probably know about, like, that famous scene.
And by the end of it, I just found myself laughing so hard at so many of just the weird plot points, death scenes, all of it.
It's pretty ridiculous. And again, it's just the fact that, like, they're, like... that everybody's keeping a straight face, like everybody looks like they're like treating this like it's fucking like there's really only like 2 actors in this that they kind of know what movie they're in, but like everybody else is treating this like it's like high super drama serious. Or something like, and it's just so funny. Now what do you want? I guess Leonard Maltin's review of it was.
I could see him giving it like a 2.
Oh, I forgot to mention, he gave the Caveman's Valentine 1.5 stars out of 4.
Okay, I'm not surprised.
To be fair, though, it's good. I forgot to look it up for the last episode, but to be fair, I didn't think he reviewed it.
Yeah.
Because who the hell has heard of this movie? So I was like, but apparently Leonard Maltin saw it. Okay, and there's no way he reviewed Quantum Quest. I mean, like, nobody saw that until, 2 years ago. Nobody saw it. So he gave Deep Blue Sea, 2.5 out of 4 stars.
Okay.
That same rating he gave Man of Steel. But lower than what he gave
Batman Forever.
How the hell is Batman Forever better than this, Leonard?
I don't know.
He said, sometimes exciting combination of Jaws and Alien.
What?
Alien?
I do have something written down actually about Alien, but like not enough to connect the two.
Combination of Jaws and Alien. I guess because there's scientists and they're like trapped in this location. So Alien, if it was underwater, that's Leviathan, not Deep Blue Sea.
Yeah.
Has some surprises, but terrible dialogue and a preposterous premise.
Fair.
I'll give him that. The premise is pretty preposterous. I also didn't write a lot of trivia for this, but one of the more interesting ones is that this is the first movie Stephen King saw after surviving his car accident.
Really?
Like some guy like hit him in a car back in like 1999, and he went to the theaters in a wheelchair and said he loved every minute of it. Oh boy. Okay, the plot of this thing, this is...
Okay.
one of the most absurd premises we've had on this. Okay, so the plot of this one is that there's these scientists in an underwater lab who are experimenting on sharks to find a cure for Alzheimer's, which... okay, that's a weird choice. But then in the process, they end up giving them something that makes the sharks super intelligent.
Yeah, because what they do is they can't get enough of the protein that they're looking for. And so they modify them so that their brains are 5 times larger than a normal shark's, which makes the sharks super smart. It's such a dumb premise.
I mean, okay, if you're gonna do this experiment on a fish, why would you do it on sharks? Jesus Christ. Yeah, it makes so the sharks, they become super intelligent, they flood the lab and try to kill everyone. So yeah, it's a pretty ridiculous premise.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's new. I haven't seen that before, so
that's fair. Oh.
Okay, the pros. The acting actually isn't bad.
Yeah, no, I like you mentioned, everyone's playing it super straight, which I think does help make the movie funnier and more enjoyable.
Yeah, like the fact that everybody is trying, it's sort of like what happens with like Airplane or like the Naked Gun movies. Like everybody's acting super serious, but like everything around him is just stupid, and they're just like, what? Like, there's that dissonance. It's just, especially with Stellan Skarsgard and Saffron Burrows, who play the scientists. Those two, they were treating this material so seriously. There's that speech that Saffron Burrows gives at the beginning about how her dad, like, died of Alzheimer's, and she sounds like she really wants to get rid of Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
But then with Samuel L. Jackson and Thomas Jane, those two, on the other hand, they looked like they were having fun with this. Like, especially Sam Jackson. Like,
oh no, he was having a blast, you could tell.
Those two, it seemed like they knew what kind of movie they were in. They're just like, let's try to have some fun with this.
Yeah.
Because Sam Jackson, he plays this guy who saves people from avalanches.
Yeah, he's supposed to be like an investor into the lab. And he shows up because one of the sharks apparently got loose, and so he's like, I need to make sure that these idiots aren't just releasing a bunch of sharks into open water.
And he's just like smiling for so much of this movie. It's so funny.
Yeah.
Well, until he gives that one speech, but like, yeah, like he's a guy who saves people from avalanches. And I was like thinking, I want to see that version of Cliffhanger.
Yeah.
And then Thomas Jane, like, honestly, Thomas Jane is cooler in this than he was in that Punisher movie, because
no, he's like this huge badass character that's like just hunts sharks whenever they get loose.
He's kind of like Jason Statham's character from The Meg, actually, now that I think about it.
Yeah.
Where he's like kind of this like shark expert. It's said that he's like out on parole for smuggling or something. But like most of this movie is just him like riding on sharks and stuff. And you're just like... It's so funny. And he's just having none of the shit from the scientists either. Like he's the one that like he's definitely the most likable character in the movie, because like even from the beginning he's like, he just knows that what they're doing is so fucking stupid, because like why would you make sharks smarter just to cure Alzheimer's?
And you know who you could tell was absolutely having a blast?
Oh, LL Cool J.
LL Cool J.
Yeah, much to my surprise, LL Cool J was not bad in this.
Yeah. He's like this chef that's like at the lab. He's definitely supposed to be much more of like a comic relief. And surprisingly, he has his own like plot line for like most of the movie, where he's just off by himself fighting a shark.
He's like trying to save his talking pet parrot. And he's also a preacher. Like, I just felt his interactions with the parrot were funny too, because the parrot like kept insulting him, and then he kept threatening the parrot. Like when he says at one point, "Don't make me drown your feathery ass." But it was kind of shocking to me, because like I've seen other movies with LL Cool J in them. I've never been that impressed with him acting wise, but he's not bad here. He at least the shark ends up eating his parrot.
I actually wrote down in my notes at that point, no, not the parrot.
I didn't think they were gonna go there.
I know. And the scene where he's fighting a shark is so funny to me. Because he's like stuck in this flooding kitchen. He hides in an oven.
He gets trapped. He gets trapped in his own oven because the shark turns the oven on.
Yeah, he turns the oven on, and it's a gas oven, so it's filling with gas. So he uses an axe to cut upward, get out. He jumps over the shark, swims to the other side of the room, lights a lighter, and throws it at the oven to blow up the shark. It's so stupid, but so funny.
The part with the shark blowing up and oh my god, that made me laugh so much. And I mean, for this type of movie, I didn't think the dialogue was that bad. Like, it wasn't amazing. Yeah.
But there's definitely been worse.
I mean, it fit the movie, I thought.
Yeah.
I think one of my favorites is when Sam Jackson says, "I have had it with these motherfucking sharks in this motherfucking lab."
He does have his moment where he yells out, where he's like breaking up a fight. And he's got a line there, he's like, "You think water moves fast? You should see ice."
He's like, says ice has like a mind of its own or something. Okay, let's talk about that scene. Okay, there's a scene.
Let's talk about that scene.
There's a scene in this movie. It's one of the funniest scenes. Even if you haven't seen it, you probably know what I'm talking about. Yeah. It's the scene where Samuel L. Jackson gives a speech because everybody's arguing with each other, and he's like saying like, you know, we need to stop fighting with each other. You know, he's talking about how when he was like saving people from like an avalanche, like 7 people went in and only 5 managed to survive. So he's just giving this big like inspirational speech. He's like saying we're not going to fight anymore. And then in the middle of the speech, well, not even in the middle of the speech, in mid-sentence,
yeah, the shark just jumps out of the pool, grabs him, and drags him under.
It's so funny and so unexpected too. Like when people went to see this in the theater,
so fast.
Because Samuel L. Jackson was like the biggest name in the cast at that time.
Yeah.
So like him dying, it was like one of those things like, holy shit. So we don't know who's gonna survive then. And also just the timing of it is so funny too.
Yeah.
Where he's like, he didn't even finish his sentence and the shark just came and gobbled him up.
I also want to talk about Stellan Skarsgard's death scene, because I think I laughed harder at that one than I did Sam Jackson's, just because of how stupid it was.
That one was pretty funny too. Like he gets his arm bitten off.
And so they have him in like a helicopter trying to fly him back. He's hooked up to like an air tank.
He's in a stretcher.
Yeah.
But then the helicopter crashes and like he ends up in the shark's mouth. That shot where the shark is like swimming with Stellan Skarsgard and the stretcher in its mouth, like I was laughing so hard.
And we should point out he's in the shark's mouth, but the shark's not eating him. It's like swimming him along to launch him at like this window that everyone's looking out of. It is so funny.
Yeah, that's what like breaking the. That's what causes the lab to flood because it breaks the window. Yeah, and apparently all it takes to stop the water is one door.
Yeah, but well, let's not forget that the shark can apparently just break down steel doors.
That's true, yeah. Not only
but he can't break through the oven. He can't break through the oven, but he can break through steel doors.
Not only are these sharks super smart, they're also super strong, apparently. I thought that the directing wasn't bad.
Yeah, no, it looked pretty decent.
There was a lot of energy to like the action scenes and stuff. You know,
one of my favorite action scenes in the movie was when they were in that elevator shaft, and the water was rising, and so they had to try and race upward before the shark could get them.
That was actually where they're climbing the ladder. Yeah, that was actually a really good scene.
Yeah,
that was like actually really intense. And there's barely any sharks during that scene too. It's just like the water. At some points in this movie, I kind of thought like the water was the main villain of the movie. Because that seemed to be as much of a hazard to them as the sharks.
Yeah.
It was well shot too. Like it wasn't anything groundbreaking, but I mean it looked good. At least, you know.
And I'll say the one thing that I wrote down that's related to Alien, a lot of the shots when they're in that underwater lab trying to just moving through hallways, it almost looks like the ship from Alien or like some of the prison stuff in Alien 3, just with the shape of the hallway, with how like everything's set up, the lighting a little bit.
I don't know why. For some reason, I was thinking more of The Thing than Alien when watching this. I think more just because they're kind of turning against each other. It's a bunch of
scientists that are all trapped.
And they're turning against each other, too. Yeah. Like, they don't really trust each other.
Yeah, I can see that.
But yeah, I can kind of see that with, like, going down the hallways and stuff. And then there's a monster that pops out at random points and gets someone. No blood, no Dallas. Some of the special effects weren't bad, at least for the time.
Yeah.
There is some CGI that's not good.
That hasn't aged gracefully.
But some of it's okay. Like, some of it is animatronics, actually. Which I hadn't realized until doing a bit of reading. I mean, okay, compare this to the Mortal Kombat movies.
It is vastly superior, especially to Annihilation.
Yeah. Like, some of the sharks in this actually don't look bad. Like, for the 90s at least. And they're huge, too. The sharks in this are so big.
They're
it's
gigantic.
Ridiculous. It's like Jaws on steroids or something. It'd be like The Meg if there were like 10 other sharks. That's kind of what this movie is like. I like the setting too.
Yeah.
Because it's like this underwater lab called Aquatica,
it's definitely an interesting
apparently.
Location. Because like most of it takes place sort of underneath the water in this lab. But pretty close to when all the action starts, they essentially blow up the top part of the lab. And so it's just like fire on top and then it's flooding on bottom. So it's sort of like that's kind of what causes them to have to go down and try and get to the submarine to escape, just because they're like trapped on all sides basically.
And I thought the set design was pretty good too.
Yeah.
And like the beginning of the movie, I'll give them this. They actually took time to set up the characters.
Yeah, they did.
So I did actually sort of give a shit when some of them died. I mean, that's like the bare minimum when it comes to one of these movies, right?
Yeah. I will say this is...
They might have spent a little bit too much time doing that.
I was just about to say that was one of my cons for it, is that the setup does take almost like 30 minutes when it's an hour and 40-minute movie.
It should have been like 20 minutes, not 30 minutes. Yeah. There were some good action scenes in that. I realized, like, after the part where they get out of the tunnel, I realized at this point in the movie, we have to watch 2 more of these.
Yeah. I have no idea what 2 and 3 are going to be like at all.
I don't either.
Because, like, this movie's pretty open and shut. I don't know where you go from there.
Some idiot tries to use sharks to cure cancer, which makes them indestructible, like Deadpool.
I'm fully expecting the sharks to talk by the end of the second movie.
They're basically like Deadpool, where they're, like, indestructible, and they, like, have, like, just irreverent quips, I guess. There's a part where Saffron Burrows strips down to her underwear and electrocutes a shark. That scene's pretty funny.
Like, there's like an electrical cable coming out of the ceiling that she just shoves in its mouth.
How the fuck was she able to keep a straight face during that part?
I don't know.
Jesus. LL Cool J. There's one part where LL Cool J recites a prayer and he starts off by reciting, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil. And then he says he's carrying a big stick and he's the meanest motherfucker in the valley. I'm like, okay, that's interesting.
I also like...
I guess sort of like Pulp Fiction, where it's like,
Yeah.
Yeah. And you will know my name is the Lord when I lay my vengeance upon thee.
I also like his line when he's jumping into the oven. He's like, I'm not Daniel when he faced the lion, so I appreciate the irony, Lord. Cook dies in his own oven.
What was it that he said to the shark before he, killed it? He said something like, that's for my bird.
You ate my bird.
You ate my bird, yes, that's what it was. I was trying to remember what... That was pretty funny. We get a title drop in this movie, from Thomas Jane.
Yeah.
Because he's, saying that the sharks are trying to make their way back to the deep blue sea. That was the sharks actually have a motive in this movie. They got smart.
And it's weird because they have this fence made out of titanium so the sharks can't get out, but somehow the sharks know that the fence on top is just steel wire, and so I guess their plan is to sink the lab so that they can get through the top part of the fence to escape. It's so weird.
Their whole goal is just they want to just get back out to this. Oh my god, that's so funny. They actually thought to give the sharks a motive in this movie. I kind of love that. Saffron Burrows, she ends up using herself as bait. She cuts her hand and then gets in the water, which was interesting about that, actually. Her character was originally supposed to survive the movie, but test audiences hated her character so much.
Oh my god. That they just had to kill her at the end?
Yeah. Because the original ending was she was supposed to end up in a relationship with Thomas Jane's character.
Yeah. I thought that's where they were going with it.
I'm kind of glad they didn't do that, though. Those two did not have chemistry.
No.
And also, her character's a fucking idiot. We'll get to that in the cons, but I mean, for fuck's sake. It's basically her fault that the whole, sequence of events, anyway.
Yeah.
The ending was pretty fun, where you got Thomas Jane, LL Cool J trying to kill the last shark. There was one part where the shark kind of just throws its teeth out like it's a xenomorph. I don't know if you noticed that.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. There are sharks that can do that. It's just not the sharks that they had.
Because they're mako sharks in this movie, if I remember right.
Yeah, and it's goblin sharks that have xenomorph jaws.
That's what we're missing. We need a goblin shark movie.
Exactly. At the very bottom of the ocean.
Has somebody done a goblin shark movie?
I don't know.
I hope so.
Let me get you a video of a goblin shark doing that thing with their teeth.
I know what they look like, and they look fucking horrifying.
I know, they're the scariest looking sharks there are.
I can see why they're called goblin sharks.
Yeah, no, they're just hideous.
They look kind of like Gelman ghosts now that I think about it. I don't know if this movie is...
Here, I found a video of it here.
Okay, I did find one movie about goblin sharks. It's called Malibu Shark Attack. I don't think I've seen this one, but I might have to now.
Add it to the list of shark movies.
Yeah, I was wondering, wait, do sharks actually... I'm pretty sure sharks don't actually do that with their mouth, but apparently...
Some of them do.
And LL Cool J tries shooting the shark with a harpoon, and he hits Thomas Jane on accident.
Yeah, he like gets him in the shoulder.
Yeah, and they end up and then they blow up the shark, and they kind of do this fake out where you're like thinking Thomas Jane died, but no, he survived.
Yeah.
Which I was gonna say, if the only survivor of this movie was LL Cool J, I mean,
he earned it. He killed a shark by himself in the movie.
But like seriously, that's like, imagine if like he was the only survivor. Come on. I think that was the original ending, if I remember right. It was Saffron Burrows survived, but LL Cool J died. I think that was what they were originally planning. But people love.
I think I prefer having LL Cool J live.
But they changed it because the test audiences loved LL Cool J's character and hated Saffron Burrows' character, so they changed it. I think it was a better choice doing that. But like, if I was really, really rooting for Thomas Jane in this movie. I was like going, "Don't die, motherfucker!" Like, but no, they're the only two that survived in the movie. They killed off like so many of the characters in this movie.
Yeah, it's a little shocking.
Yeah. Like, I gotta give the movie credit for, like, you actually don't know who's gonna survive in the movie.
Yeah.
Because that's usually a problem, is, like, you watch a movie and you're like, oh yeah, they're gonna die. You already know that they're gonna die.
They killed off Sam Jackson. Anybody's on the chopping block then.
Yeah, killing off Sam Jackson was basically Ned Stark dying in Game of Thrones. You're like going, holy shit, so it's anybody's game then, isn't it? And the movie ends with an LL Cool J song, because why wouldn't it? That has to be the only reason he's in the movie.
100%.
They got two of his songs. And also, I find it funny that earlier in the movie, his character says he hates the song, and it's one of his own songs, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's one of his own songs. Okay, we can get into the cons now. I
think, like we mentioned, the intro is a bit slow.
It is, yeah. There needed to be a little bit more shark action. Although, to be fair, though, once the shark action starts happening, it just goes all out with it. Like, it gets ridiculous. But yeah, there's like a lot of like, they're like setting up the plot and stuff, setting up the characters, you know.
Yeah.
And some of the characters you care more about than others, you know, so. One of my problems, and I don't even know if you know this, so Ronnie Cox is in this, Dick Jones from RoboCop, and he just sits there and doesn't have any lines.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of weird. Because it's like, you don't need three characters in this scene if one of them's not gonna do anything.
Yeah, exactly. And it's such a waste of Ronnie Cox, you know.
Yeah.
Dick Jones, for fuck's sake. Like, imagine if he was, like, one of the bad guys in this.
Yeah. Well, what if he was one of the sharks?
He was one of the sharks. Is he gonna try to turn one of the sharks into an Ed 209 or something?
That's the plot to the next RoboCop movie. Cop sharks.
Robo Shark or Shark Cop, I guess. They also drown a teddy bear at one point. I mean, come on, man. You don't drown a teddy bear. That's at the beginning, during like the part where the shark's attacking a yacht, if you don't remember.
Yeah.
Some of the effects weren't very good. The worst ones, I think, were when Michael Rappaport and Saffron Burrows got eaten by the sharks.
Yeah, no, that looked pretty bad.
Yeah, it's just, Jesus.
And I think we mentioned the plot is incredibly just nonsensical. Like, if you stop to think about it at all, it's So weird.
Really, that's the thing. It's like Saffron Burrows, her character, like, well, for one, she confuses the Alps for the Himalayas. I mean,
yeah.
how do you do that? But she's supposed to be a scientist in this, but her character is a fucking idiot. Who in their right mind would try to cure Alzheimer's by making genetically engineered super sharks?
And don't forget, those sharks are technically illegal. Because they were talking about how they had to break some sort of, like, genetic engineering law in order to make those sharks.
Okay, everybody wants to cure Alzheimer's, right? But, like, if you're gonna test it on a fish, there's so many other options you could choose. Like, why wouldn't it work on a goldfish or, like, a catfish or something? I think we have our winner for worst scientist on this podcast.
Yeah,
like,
no, it's a very strong contender.
Basically, like, the reason her character ends up dying in the movie is because people hate her so much because it's her fault that all this shit happened. I mean, for fuck's sake. It just doesn't make any sense. So many options. What you could do. I also noticed this movie really wanted to be Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
Down to the fact that, like, both movies have Sam Jackson in them. But even, like, just, like, I was noticing some parallels. Like, they got a helicopter where they arrive against, or, like, Jurassic Park. There's a storm coming, and they get trapped in this place with a bunch of genetically engineered creatures that kill them. I mean, you know.
It's pretty evident throughout.
Hey, you gotta give them credit. At least the scientists in Jurassic Park didn't try to make the dinosaurs smarter than they already were.
That's for the Jurassic World movies.
Oh yeah, they did do that, yeah. Oh my god, Jurassic World ripped off Deep Blue Sea. With, like, the Indoraptor and stuff. Yeah. This is a better Jurassic World than the Jurassic World movies. How does Resident Evil compare to that? I know you compared, was it Fallen Kingdom that you compared to Resident Evil?
Yeah. I think, honestly, I get more enjoyment out of this than the Resident Evil movies.
It was a lot. I think it was way more fun. It's certainly more fun than the first two. The first two are pretty painful to watch.
Yeah.
Although Afterlife does have that pretty funny fight scene at the end.
That fight scene is something special.
But then this movie has, like, that, but multiplied by, like, 3.
Yeah.
Also, I don't know if you were getting it, but the music in this movie was, like, so overdramatic that I burst out laughing during some parts.
I don't think I noticed that.
It seemed like the music was just trying so hard, and I'm just like, maybe it's just because of how silly the entire movie was that it just kind of made the music funnier to me as a result.
Yeah.
I do kind of wish they'd done a little bit more with the sharks being really smart. Like, there's a lot of other things. The only, like... Sorry.
The only way they really used the smart sharks concept was when the one turned on the oven. I think having him do more ridiculous or stupid shit like that would have added a lot, I think.
It would have been sort of like when the raptors in Jurassic Park, going back to Jurassic Park again, when they, like, figure out how to open doors and stuff. Like, except it's the sharks doing that. I mean, to be fair, they do end up destroying just the entire lab and stuff. So, like, and again, something I thought of was, like, the sharks actually have a motive. You know, what are sharks' motives in most movies? Just eat and destroy, I guess. Like, here, it's just they want to escape. I couldn't tell at points if this movie was trying to be serious or not. Like,
I think they knew that they were making something a bit silly.
I don't think the director did, or like some of the actors definitely did. Like Thomas Jane and Samuel L. Jackson definitely knew.
Yeah.
And maybe LL Cool J. Saffron Burrows probably not. Stellan Skarsgard, I think he knew what kind of movie he was in, but he was like, I just have to play my role and then I get my paycheck,
Yeah.
It was just kind of funny seeing, like, just what kind of acting do you get out of a movie like this, and the fact that some of them actually tried. That's just hilarious to me. Fucking Saffron Burrows treating it like it's Tennessee Williams or something. At points, it felt like the water was the main villain in this.
Yeah, they spend a lot of time running away from water.
Yeah. That seemed to be a lot of movies in the 90s, come to think of it, just like running away from water. Including an entire movie where it's just water. Which is, of course, Waterworld.
Waterworld.
We should do Waterworld on the podcast at some point.
We're gonna have to.
That's another movie I like that's also really stupid, but, But it is fun, so... I'd imagine this movie was a pain to film, because they had to be wet and surrounded by water the whole time.
Yeah, no, like the whole time the characters are wet, they have stuff spraying out at them. The water's always like ankle high or higher.
It must have been cold, too. Saffron Burrows in her underwear just freezing to death, basically. Also, how the fuck did LL Cool J last longer than Sam Jackson in this movie?
That's a great question.
Fuck off. Like... They also say at one point there's only 3 sharks, but it honestly felt like there were 12 of them.
I know.
I guess just because of how powerful these sharks were.
And just aggressive.
I really want to know what they do with the sequels, because I'm like wondering, do they just run with this concept again?
So, something I want to mention about the sequels, by the way. I don't know if you've probably seen this already, but I just found this out today.
I think they were
Deep Blue Sea.
They were like direct to video or something, if I remember right.
Yeah. But Deep Blue Sea 2 has a score of 0% on Rotten Tomatoes, but 3 has a 73%.
I was gonna mention that when we got to those on the podcast, but yeah. I was surprised. Like, okay, I'm not surprised that the second one has like a 0.
Yeah.
But like the third one has like a higher Rotten Tomatoes rating than the first one, which is interesting.
Yeah.
And again, didn't Sharknado have like at one point it was like at like 80% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh, that wouldn't surprise me. Oh, right now it's 75.
75. That's higher than any of the Deep Blue Sea movies. The first Deep Blue Sea has like a 60%, I think.
Wow.
Yeah, 60. So, I mean, 61 if you're just going off of top critic reviews. Wow. That's higher than Die Hard with a Vengeance. Apparently this is the better Sam Jackson movie. That might be true, actually. How many sharks are in Die Hard with a Vengeance? Imagine a movie of John McClane teaming up with a shark to stop a team of sharks from breaking into, like, Fort Knox or something. Goblin shark. Are there any goblin sharks in Deep Blue Sea 2?
I don't know. I'm not reading anything about those except
I want to go
scores.
in blind. Yeah, I haven't read like the premise or anything. I've just like seen like the posters and stuff. So okay, so do you want to get into overall thoughts?
Yeah.
Unless I don't know what else there is to say about this movie. Again, it's a fun action movie with sharks in it. The cast does a pretty good job, considering what they were given to work with. Look, I just want to see Samuel L. Jackson get eaten by a fucking shark. Is that too much to ask?
And hey, you got to see Samuel L. Jackson getting eaten by a shark.
I kind of wanted to watch Snakes on a Plane after watching this. I do love that about Samuel L. Jackson, that he'll just, like, accept parts just because, hey, that looks like fun, I mean, for being what it is, it's not a poorly made movie.
Yeah. No, it looks pretty nice. The set designs are great.
The action scenes are pretty good. You get your money's worth if you're into stupid shit like this.
Yeah.
I mean, compare this to, like, Anaconda. I mean, like, it's way better than Anaconda. Although Anaconda does fall into the funny bad category, to be fair. Yeah. Mostly because of Jon Voight's performance. I don't know if you've seen any, like, clips of that movie, but it's something. It's better than Lake Placid. I don't know what they were trying to accomplish with that movie. That movie kind of felt like they were trying to make it a comedy, but then they just added a crocodile in there or something. It was weird. Do you have anything to add?
I think I just really backing up what I said before. It's got a pretty dumb premise, but just the execution makes it worth watching. All the actors, a lot of the actors just put their all into it.
I kind of love when movies just
good.
I kind of love when like movie studios go, the hell with it. Let's just make like a big budget B movie and like cast actual actors in it. Like just
and it's just a really fun watch.
Yeah, because sometimes you do get something fun out of it, like this.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else to add?
I think that's it.
So, unbelievably, the next movies we're doing do not have Samuel Jackson in them.
Unfortunately.
It took Samuel L. Jackson dying in a movie for us to not do a movie starring him, I guess.
That's a good point, actually.
Because we've done, 4 of his movies in a row, and is this the only one he dies in? Or does he die in Quantum Quest?
I don't think he dies in Quantum Quest.
He like gets defeated, but he doesn't die. Like this one, his character's definitely dead. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I don't think you're gonna come back from that. But yeah, our next podcast is on Deep Blue Sea 2 and Deep Blue Sea 3.
It should be interesting.
I have no idea what is in store here aside from more sharks.
Until then, roll the Andy Griffith.
And like a downgraded budget, I guess.
Good night, you stupid idiot. Good night, you miserable slob.